let's talk about the climate change one,
Sure.
if we can. You have a very eloquent and precise take on the climate change agenda.
Sure.
And in fact, we've done now three campus events, two on during the day, one in the evening. Every single one, climate change has come up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
First, comment on the climate change fanaticism.
Sure. So what I try to do in this chapter of the book certainly is to start with hard facts and to separate the questions we're asking. So Wittgenstein formerly said that most major philosophical problems are just problems of language. I think the same thing is true of the climate discussion. Is this question of, is climate change real? There's so much packed into that versus dissecting the actual questions underlying it. The first is, are global surface temperatures going up? The answer to that question, I review the data as dispassionately as I can. The answer to that question actually ends up being yes, slightly. Global surface temperatures in general are going up. I highlight some intellectual dishonesties where we had a 5-year streak in the early 2010s where nobody said anything about it when they actually went down. But if you look over the course of the last 60, 70 years, it is an upward trend in global surface temperatures. Fine. Now, the second question is, are we sure that's as big as we say? Well, actually, a lot of those temperature measurements are taken in areas of cities where you actually have ground heating, which is not the kind of climate change that would worry you anyway. But the real question to ask is, A, is it a consequence of man-made behavior? That becomes less clear. Is it now a consequence of man-made behavior, specifically the release of carbon dioxide? Then it becomes even less clear. But what I do in most of that chapter is ask the question that nobody's asking is, even if global surface temperatures are going up, and even if man-made causes, and even if carbon dioxide is one of them, though the evidence for that is less than you might think, are we sure that that is a bad thing for humanity? And it turns out if you look at the evidence and the effects that it has on human life, there are actually surprisingly positive effects for flourishing of human beings on planet Earth as a consequence of global surface temperatures going up by a little bit. Here's a basic one. Bjorn Lomborg has been great on this issue, pointing out the facts. 8 times as many people die of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. And yet we're sitting here worrying about a microscopic, right now, increase in global surface temperatures. The right answer to all temperature-related deaths is more plentiful and abundant access to fossil fuels, the very thing that climate fanatics are telling us not to do. And the Earth is more covered by green surface area, plant life today, than it was 100 years ago, because carbon dioxide is plant food, and they tend to grow in slightly warmer temperatures. These are hard, indisputable facts. I'll give Alex Epstein credit for this one, too. The climate disaster-related death rate is down by 98% over the last century. Think about that. Why is that down, the climate disaster-related death rate? It's because fossil fuels have actually powered improvements in technology. And so even I don't want to bring red herrings into this, but I think they're all connected. Even when we think about being pro-life, right? You and I, we share, all three of us at this table, deep pro-life commitments. Well, it's not an accident that a culture and a country that abandons its value on life in all of its forms, including in the womb and in unborn life, also completely disregards the impact on actual life. Look at actual effects on mortality. That isn't part of the climate change discussion at all, because actually what we're seeing is a decline in mortality, not only because of greater use of fossil fuels, but in part, and this will make a lot of people mad, but it's a fact, in part because of slight increases in global surface temperatures.
So about a minute remaining here just in this segment, and we'll keep going. What is the ultimate objective, aim, and goal of the climate change agenda?
The ultimate aim is to make the United States of America the third world nation that the rest of the world is not abiding by. So they want the rest of the world to catch up. You want to know it in one word? Equity. This isn't about anything other than equity. Greta Thunberg herself brings this up. It's about climate justice. They want the rest of the world to catch up to the United States while we flog ourselves and China laughs at every step of the way. That's what the agenda is about.
And you've rarely ever find there are Marxists who are not crazy about the climate change thing, but you almost never find a climate change zealot that isn't a Marxist.
That's exactly right. And here's the thing with the new Marxism, right? And I'm always careful about trying to overuse these words. The old Marxism used to be about economic equality,
yes,
right? So the idea that you were the proletariat, you need economic equality with the bourgeoisie. What happened with the new forms of Marxism is they completely abandoned the economic vision and the foundation of it to say instead it's based on race or gender or sexuality. And now using climate change as a vector to force that equality, it's almost like the old school OG Marxists felt like they got a little left behind. And so that's a funny evolution that I talk about in this book as well.
Why is it that the younger you tend to be, the more you care about the climate change issue? And you said something very profound at UNC Chapel Hill. You do not think it ranks on the top 100 issues facing America.
That's right. And the reason it doesn't rank in the top 100 issues facing America is I would focus on issues that are unambiguously negative for us unless we fix them. it is not yet clear to me, it is far from clear to me that anything relating to global surface temperatures going up is even bad for us. What is actually going on is young people are lost. It's not just true of young people, Charlie. It's true of people of every generation. But especially young people are hungry for purpose and meaning and identity right now. We want to belong to something bigger than ourselves, yet we can't even answer what it means to be an American, right? Individual, family, nation, and God beat race, gender, sexuality, and climate. But in some ways, we as a conservative movement, while we've been really good at identifying the hypocrisies on the other side, we haven't yet been as good as I think we need to be in articulating our own alternative vision. And I think that's how we actually defeat the poison in the end, is by melting it to irrelevance, dilute it to irrelevance. So the book starts with God is real. If we see a revival of faith in this country, I have no doubt in my mind, climate fanaticism automatically goes away right there with it.